For this project, I decided to make my work surface out of some plywood I had lying around the shop. I cut 17-inch by 6-foot sections, 2 of those that I would laminate together. Using sandpaper, I stripped off the top layer of wood, exposing nice new grain, and I would need to laminate the 2 pieces together to correct the bow. For the lamination, I would use a lot of wood glue and make sure that the bows are pushing away from each other. And I clamped this down to my workbench where possible because my workbench is perfectly flat. It turned out really nice. I was proud of it, and I was able to put it away to the side where it'll wait for assembly. The frame of this workbench will be made entirely of 2x4s. I used a 4x4 on my last workbench, which was nice, but I decided to go on the cheap. Alright, I've cut all the pieces on my cut list, stretchers, legs, side stretchers. Now what I need to do is start my joinery. Started the joinery by cutting rebates for the long stretchers. These would accept the legs on the corners of the workbench, and it would help ensure from racking and compression issues that might happen. The center also got a rebate for the center legs. This would be about 1.5 inches wide on all of them. And now I will work on the legs. As you'll notice, one of the legs already has the cut made out of it. This I did so that way I can join them all together and match the rest of them to that one model. However, you might count 5 legs. I forgot to mount or connect all 6 of them here. I used that circular saw to cut a bunch of relief cuts so that way I can chisel out kind of how you work on a mortise and tenon joint. And this was very good. It was successful. I liked that method quite a bit. Use sandpaper to really level them all out and flip it over to make the deeper cutout, which will accept the long stretchers on the front and back. I made this deeper so that way they can join a little bit firmer, as these will give the bench strength from racking. Using this file, I was able to make a really smooth and uniform surface. The top of the legs also need a recess for the upper stretchers to lie on, and this would be done with a circular saw as well as the radial arm saw. This is a sketchy cut with a saw. Radial arm saws are good for cross-cutting, not ripping like this. However, I made sure to have my hands clear from the saw blade while making any cuts. The angle of the saw blade prevented it from cutting all the way through, so I had to clean that up with a handsaw and chisel. Now the legs, I cut them too long originally, so I had to cut off about 2 inches. My upper short stretchers would need some shaping using a circular saw. I cut the reliefs again. Now these are oriented currently upside down. That little notch that I'm working on will rest on top of the legs, giving this workbench a lot of strength. This design was my own. I just had read a woodworking book and used a combination of joinery methods to create this workbench. After I finish cutting these pieces, I am good for assembly. But first I need to clean up the shop. There is wood dust everywhere. I'm going to be assembling this on the floor, so a little cleanup. I have my 4 6-foot stretchers. On the left, my 6 legs. On the bottom, my 3 upper stretchers and the 3 lower stretchers. For assembly, I wanted to make sure that everything would be square, level, and plumb. So I took my time, added 1 screw for each leg at first, made sure it's square, and add the second screw, and then do the same thing with the lower long stretchers. And then of course I would duplicate this again before trying to join the 2 front and back sections together. This shot highlights the different methods of joinery that I used. Now, I'm not an expert at joinery, however, I felt like this was a good attempt by me to utilize some of the different things I have been reading about. If you feel like you have some great insight and would like to share it, please leave me a comment about whether you like or dislike the methods in which I use to join these pieces of wood. My work surface would be attached by 6 drywall nails. And I did that by drilling, countersinking, and filling screws from the top. And then I just had to sand them flush after chopping them off. The tabletop is securely attached now. I'm excited to get to use this, but first I need to protect the wood. And for that I'm going to be using my classic shellac. I really liked the way the amber shellac turned out on my other workbench and decided to replicate it here. Now this video ends a little bit prematurely. I did not completely finish this workbench because I have not added the bottom shelf to it. However, we will see that in a forthcoming video with a special project that really utilizes this workbench for a unique purpose. Thank you for watching this video.